Hello everyone, welcome to SSLC Pathway webinar series. This is Ilyas joining you from Vancouver, and we have our pathway partner Railroads University here with us. Nicole joining us from Victoria today. Hi Nicole.
Hello, nice to see you all and nice to be with you here, Ilyas. And so I am the International Liaison Coordinator. I work with all of our onshore partners, so language schools and all of our onshore agencies in Canada. And I am virtually in front of our iconic castle, campus centerpiece, Hatley Castle. So we have many buildings on campus, which I'll show you a little bit in a tour that I'm going to give you. But this is what we are most known for. And you may figure out why a little later in the presentation.
Great. So we'll be talking about how our pathway works between our institutions, between SSLC and Railroads University. We'll be talking about your programs. You have a presentation for us, and we'll talk a bit about Victoria as well. Yes. So why don't we go right into your presentation, and we'll go from there.
Sounds great, Ilyas. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so Ilyas, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, wonderful. So welcome to Railroads University. We are in Victoria, British Columbia, as Ilyas mentioned. So on Vancouver Island, a short ferry ride or seaplane ride or regular plane ride away from Vancouver. The plane ride takes about 15 minutes. The ferry is about 2 hours. Victoria is at the southernmost point of Vancouver Island, and it's a very beautiful setting for studying. The area is full of recreation. It is British Columbia's capital city, so it's very vibrant. Here's a bigger snapshot of the island with some of the other destinations on the island. So some of the other larger destinations here would be Nanaimo. Tofino is Canada's surfing capital. There is skiing, surfing, kayaking, every type of recreational activity you can imagine on the island. It is a very beautiful place and a destination for tourism from around the world. In addition, the city has really blossomed over the last 10, 20 years in terms of its different industries. It has become a huge scene for the tech industry. And also it being the capital city, it has a large number of industries, including government, that are supporting that capital city nature. Maclean's magazine has called it Canada's smartest city. That might be up for debate, but we'll take it. Best city for young professionals, best place for new immigrants in Canada, and Canada's friendliest city. I can speak to this myself. I'm from Toronto originally, and I have moved to Victoria twice, and both times I'm always surprised and delighted by just how friendly everyone is and how much time they have for newcomers, how easily it is to connect and make friends. So a little bit about Railroads University. We are on the traditional lands of the Esquimalt and the Songhees Nations. And we are very lucky to be able to interact with these nations on a regular basis. They influence our programming, and it is just an honor to be able to use these lands and be enabled to study and have our programming on them. It is primarily old growth forest that surrounds our campus, and then our campus in the middle of the lands are a series of newer and older buildings, the oldest being the 1908 Dunsmuir Estate. So that is Hatley Castle that is behind me right now, and that was at the beginning of the presentation. In 1940, the grounds transitioned from being a family home to a military college. And in 1995, it became a public university, one of two on the southern part of the island in Victoria. And the reason that there are two is because we're distinctly different. We are geared towards the working professional, although we do have undergraduate programs as well. So I'll get into that a little bit later in the presentation about how we're different and why we're different. I'm going to give you a little campus tour now, and it'll showcase some of the beauty and the buildings and the lands that I've just spoken about. So that is our campus, and you may recognize it, as I mentioned when we kicked off, the castle in particular. It is most famous for being the setting of the X-Men and now the Deadpool movies and a lot of other films. So you may have already have some familiarity with our campus and just didn't realize it. You've seen it in the Hollywood setting. So a few facts about Royal Roads. We have over 25,000 alumni. There are about 4,000 to 5,000 students at any given time. A very great international presence. We have many partnerships with other universities. Student exchange is a factor in most of our programs, and we are growing that. And our average class size is 35. So this goes into the differences that I talked about as to why we are a different kind of university and why there are more than one university in Victoria area. The University of Victoria is a more typical university. It's got a range of programs that it might be more typical, but the student body is much larger, including the class size. So it's a very tailored, very hands-on approach to studying, even online. And I'll get a little bit into the online and the experience that students right now in the era of us having to adapt because of the global pandemic, how their experience with the small, intimate class sizes and that very high touch experience is being maintained. So as I mentioned, the average class size being 35, it's a highly collaborative learning environment. So we have been ranked the #1 public university in Canada for active and collaborative learning. There's some polling that happened amongst our students to look at their levels of satisfaction here on this slide, and a little bit about experiential learning. So we have a lot of our programs encompass field trips, internships, consulting projects, working with companies, site visits, networking events. That all speaks to how it's very intermeshed, very personal, very tailored. So, these are some of the points that I touched upon, that it's very team-based, very relevant and applied. A lot of our instructors are working in the field or have deep experience in the field and deep connections in the field. And here, it's a testament. All of the professors certainly do know your name. You are learning in small groups. And you come out with a network of worldwide peers, whether you're doing one of our on-campus programs or our blended programs. The students typically are coming in with some work experience, and that really helps them, connect from the very beginning around supporting each other in their various fields that they're coming into programs for. So this student from the Master of Global Management, I'll speak a little bit more in depth about this program later, but it is a program that people come in from diverse fields, and they're networking and supporting each other right from the get-go. So our academic entry points, as I mentioned, we do have undergraduate degree programs. We have regular 4-year degrees for students coming right out of high school for international students. So we have an international year 1 and 2. And then those flow into some of our other programs that are also offered as degree completion. So I will explain and showcase those a little bit further in the presentation. And then we have 70% of our programs are at the graduate level. So master's, and we have 2 doctoral programs as well. But I'm going to focus a little bit on the on-campus programs in this presentation, because I know that with students who are coming to Canada, that is the predominant focus, is the on-campus. I will have a slide that showcases all of our programs, including our blended programs. And of course, all of our programs are outlined and showcased in detail on our website at royalroads.ca. So we have 4-year on-campus undergraduate degrees, and this is, as I mentioned, for international students. The BBA in Business Sustainability, BBA in Global Tourism Management, and BA in International Hotel Management all have the same format of a year 1 and 2 for international students coming in. It is a blend of EAP to bring students up from the requirement, which is a 6.0 IELTS, to a 6.5 within those 2 years, and then also a strong academic component and more academic within the 2nd year, leading into the 3rd year of those programs, when these students would be joined by the 3rd year transfer degree completion students. So a little bit on each of these programs. Our BBA in Business and Sustainability is a little different than a typical BBA, and then it's got that sustainability aspect. We have a lot of students that come interested from the sustainability viewpoint, realizing that they are entrepreneurial, they're interested in supporting businesses from this standpoint. And it's very in line with designations like B Corporation and other types of business designations that are supporting sustainable business and that business has really caught on to around the world. We have a BA in Global Tourism Management. This program attracts students who, again, are very entrepreneurial, but often are also interested in a broader scope of tourism than just hotels. They often go on to work in destination marketing organizations, such as Tourism Victoria or Tourism Vancouver, these positions do take them all around the world as well. Another area that is very popular is our BA in International Hotel Management. And the tourism sector here in Victoria and in Vancouver and BC as a whole is extremely thriving. So the BA in International Hotel Management is hotel focused, but students do find a breadth beyond hotels as well. But it is a very well supported program, in that the program head herself, she has deep experience working in hotels, is extremely connected, so it's very applied, past 60 credits, or your year 1 and 2 experience in a very holistic way. So I'll get into the master's programs, but I just wanted to recap a little bit on that video and dive into it a little bit further. So basically, the programs, when we look at transfer, a lot of times students, are advised to look at the BC Transfer Guide or to refer to an institution's website to look at transfer agreements with specific schools. But for us, I would encourage you, if you're looking at transferring from college, or if you have years 1 and 2 from another institution, to connect with us directly, because we aren't, as that video showed, we aren't looking at it on a course per course basis outside of the specific requirements for each program. So please do connect with us if you're interested in this. And I know that it can often be confusing when you're looking at transfer. And again, our situation is a little more holistic, where students are looked at, they have the 60 credits, but for example, the requirement for the program they're interested in is just in accounting, then we look at that accounting, but we look at the rest of it as a holistic experience in those credits. And then, we're looking at your letter of intent to see why is it that you want to join this program, and how does it flow with your past experience and your future ambitions. So getting into the master's programs, we have 3 on-campus master's programs. I'll go back to them here. And those are the Master of Arts in Tourism Management, the Master of Global Management, and the Master of Arts in International and Intercultural Communication. The Master of Arts in Tourism Management, again, the tourism sector in Victoria and Vancouver, at this moment, it is suffering some setbacks, but we have had fantastic webinars and speakers, and those that have been interested in our programs, and the industry as a whole has really focused in on what Railroads is doing to bring thought leaders together and speak about the future of tourism at this time. And those sessions have been very hopeful, and the sector has spoken to the need for tourism to reinvent itself. And in a hub like Victoria, where it's very tourism friendly, and at the same time, if we're looking at smaller impact of tourism and tourism within countries, Victoria is still a hub. And so the Master of Arts in Tourism Management, we have a May intake, and it is just starting. And those students are highly, highly engaged despite the global pandemic situation. They are coming to the program very enthusiastic. And that's a testament to, again, the small collaborative nature of Railroads, how much we interact with the students in advance of a program starting, and particularly in this time, a lot of virtual handholding to make sure that the students understand what the opportunities are, and that they are feeling that they're confident in their taking this program. We have a Master of Global Management program that is extremely popular. It is offered 3 times per year. We have intakes in September, January, and May. And it is like an MBA program with a global focus. So students, the standard requirement is 4 years of undergraduate study with a minimum B average and 2 years of full-time related work experience. So while we do have an executive MBA program with more work experience required in a blended format, this has been the program that has been offered 3 times per year and has really drawn an audience from around the world. We also have a blended offering of it that does draw more domestic students as well. But there is a good mix, and this is an extremely popular program for Railroads. Our Master of Arts in International and Intercultural Communication. This is a fascinating program, and it really broadens the skill sets for those who are aspiring to become higher level communicators. So they're looking at themes like intercultural theory, international relations, global communication, PR and social media in the global context. As we have seen with this pandemic, the need for us to be, sharing information around the world, whether a student was going to go and work for, government or a company, there needs to be that bridging in terms of communication. And this is a highly relevant and I think fascinating program for these times. So as I mentioned before, we also have blended degrees. We have many of them. They're very innovative, and they, in terms of their niche at times, as we do have blended offerings for the three programs that I just mentioned as well, the three on-campus programs. But we also have programs that are focusing on disaster and emergency management, also very interesting and dialed into this time. We have programs on conflict analysis and management, human security and peace building, and we have an interdisciplinary studies program where students can look at various areas and blend them to come up with a customized approach. And I'm just going to quickly go a little bit about learning online, because as with, I just mentioned the blended programs. This is what we have been doing for 25 years. We have been offering online learning in a blended format. Students either study in online programs or they're studying in blended programs where they're coming for short on-campus residencies, but the primary portion of their study is online. So we have a Center for Teaching and Educational Technologies with a large staff that supports these activities, and it was in place. So when we moved our studies from on campus to online this spring, with the pandemic situation, we were very well equipped. And in fact, we have become a resource for a lot of schools across Canada. We're putting on webinars that a lot of universities and colleges across Canada are coming and learning from during this time. Moodle is our primary learning base. And just a couple snapshots of what it looks like. It's very straightforward. It's tried and true, and very easy to navigate. There's also a lot of help and assistance that's available to students. And I'm going to get into our language requirements now. And this is where Ilias and I might want to jump on together a little bit, because this will get into our pathway with SSLC. So we have a 6.0 overall for our international year one entry programs. And the remaining programs, with a few exceptions, our doctoral programs and our Master of Arts in Professional Communication, have a 7.0. But most of the remaining programs fall in this category here. Our year three degree completion, so that's all of our master's programs, with the exception of one, and our degree completion. So a 6.5 overall, with a minimum 6.5 in reading and speaking. And then our pathway with SSLC. So with SSLC, we combine some of our on-campus and currently delivered online, and we're going to be delivering that online through September, through the fall semester, and perhaps on an ongoing basis. But our SSLC's EPE blends with our programming for students to be able to come into our programs more seamlessly without having to present the final IELTS. So the pathway for international year one programs is SSLC's EPE plus 1 semester of Royal Roads English language preparation. And for the degree completion or master's programs, it's SSLC's EPE plus 2 semesters. So for degree completion, it's our transfer preparation program. And for our master's programs, it's our pre-master's program. Did you have anything to add there, Ilias?
So for students who don't have any English proficiency scores, they don't need to obtain one. They can just come to our EP program, English for Post-Secondary Education. It's a 12-week program, and we have a monthly. Once they complete SSLC's EP program, they can easily move on to RRU, and if they're in year one, they'll do 1 semester of English, right? For about 3-4 months.
That's correct. Yes, 1 semester.
And then if it's a degree completion, they'll have to do 2 semesters master's program. They can come to SSLC. They can even come at a lower level of English if their English is not so good. We can train them, and then they'll be at a pathway level with about IELTS 5.5 level. So once they complete this, they can easily move on, and we'll be helping them with all the application procedures and all that application process. So we'll go into that I think in the end as well about how it'll work. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No. And if students have questions, you know, and they come through RRU and they're interested in studying through SSLC, we can certainly answer the questions. And likewise, connect with Ilias, and you're likely seeing this on their social media channels and on their channels. So they will have, you know, outreach for you to be able to connect with them and learn more about where you're at, where you're coming in from, and then how you would go through the pathway towards an RRU program, depending on which program it is.
Exactly.
So yeah, so I'm going to stop my screen share now so we can just have a chat about admissions. And so the admissions process for Royal Roads, if you're working with SSLC, it's best to work in tandem with SSLC to submit an application. That way it's clear to Royal Roads that you're taking their programming, and we can patch in with them with any questions we may have about your level and your completion and the timing. And so they will support you in applying on our Apply Now site through our website. And then we will require documentation, and it's different for each program. But if you go to our website and you go to the program page that you're interested in, if you're looking on a desktop, then on the right-hand side, there'll be a link that says admission requirements and application requirements. So it will list everything that it would be needed. Typically, we are looking for a letter of intent. We are looking for your transcripts. We are looking at the master's level for a couple of references, but it's best to look at it from a program by program basis. Make sure you're ticking off all the boxes. And then
probably you'll also need our LOA or completion of EPE. You'll get our certificate and transcript from us. I just have a quick question here for international students. They obviously they come with our program first, but they'll also need a conditional letter of acceptance from a pathway partner. So do you also provide the conditional letter of acceptance?
We do.
How does that work?
So students can apply as early as they like. So if you are considering doing, you know, you haven't started on your journey yet, and you're considering a Royal Roads program and pathwaying through SSLC, you can apply to Royal Roads at any time. And just indicate, and we'll work with you, and SSLC will work with you to develop the timing, depending on what the program start is. And then once you've applied, you know, and we've provided a conditional acceptance based on it looking like you're going to be able to provide all the documentation and that your plan is to go through SSLC, then we provide that conditional acceptance letter to you. And then you can start on your path. We do get students that are partway through their program as well, and then they get a conditional letter to say that they need to finish their program before they get their official letter of acceptance. But you can do it all in advance as well and get that conditional letter based on future plans to study.
Great. And so to be able to obtain this, do they have to make any payments upfront, like any deposit payments or anything like it?
They do have to make a deposit, yes. Yes. So,
okay. And does it differ from program to program, or you just have a set amount for all the programs?
It is a set amount for all of the programs, yes. So I think that probably best to connect on a one-on-one level and to determine all the different steps and how that is going to work, especially in this time. There are some, in terms of transcripts and different roadblocks and hurdles that some students are encountering right now,
Mm-hmm.
we are working very one-on-one with students
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that, we are trying to accommodate as much as possible. So I think at this time, given the global circumstances, it's best to connect and express your interest, and then we can walk through what the process will be, any questions you may have, any specifics that may, apply to where you are and some of the limitations that you might be facing. So I don't want to say that it's too regimented this time, because I've seen our international admissions department being very flexible and being, very, very customized in their approach to supporting students who may be having obstacles at this given time.
Great. I just have a few questions. The first one is regarding the degree completion at RRU. You mentioned that students who completed a diploma program or maybe an associate degree, or they just have 60 credits, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it also possible for students who, because most students, they hold a bachelor's degree from their home countries, but if, let's say, they have a bachelor's degree from a different discipline and they want to study business at RRU, is this also possible?
It is possible. And so
Mm-hmm.
what we'll do with students who are in that circumstances, we'll look at how much experience they have.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes students will come to us and say, I'm interested in this, and I don't think I qualify for a master's program, but we look at their cumulative work experience and they may actually be able to come in for a master's program. Some do end up completing a bachelor's degree and then switching course and doing in a different discipline. So it really depends on their focus, their intent, their work experience, how much it may relate. So maybe their previous degree was in a different discipline, but maybe their work experience since they've taken that degree has led them in the direction that's closer to, if say it is business, to being on a business path. So again, that's more that one-on-one consulting with them, having our international admissions department take a look at their documentation and their situation, maybe their letter of intent and their transcripts combined in advance, and then making some guidance as to whether they might be a degree completion student to do a secondary bachelor's, or looking at possibly doing a master's if their work experience maybe has led them more in that direction since their unrelated bachelor's has completed.
Great. And you talked about, okay, we have PhDs and master's and bachelor's degrees, but I came across with your graduate diploma programs. Are they all online, or do you have some
They're
in-person?
all online with the exception of
Okay.
one new offering, the graduate diploma in project management and organizational leadership.
Okay.
So that is a new program. It was due to start in September. Now we have moved it to January. It is an eight-month program. So due to the nature of postgraduate work permit eligibility, that one would need to be 100% on campus. So we will be looking at that one closely to make sure that it can run 100% on campus. So it's one to keep an eye on. But if students are interested, and I know you have had an SSLC student who was interested in that program and has applied, we will be if a student is interested and wants to apply, and then we will work with them as we are with all students to let them know the status of programs, their options, and how they, if it's longer than an 8-month program, their option to be able to start online, maintain their postgraduate work permit eligibility, and eventually come to campus. But for that program, because it's only an 8-month, we need to be careful and start that program on campus. So right now it is pinpointed for January, but we will see, fingers crossed, that we can have it happening in January.
Okay. I just want to talk about how where students can stay when they get there. Do you have any residences, or do you help them with any homestays, or how does it work?
So we have an on-campus residence, but it is very small, and it is primarily for the residencies. So the blended programs, when students come for their 1 or 2 week on-campus residency amid their online experience, they are staying in that residency. We do not offer it to the on-campus programs unless there's an emergency situation. So if there was an
I
emergency
see.
situation and someone had a gap in housing, then that is something that has been offered. We do work with Canada Homestay, and students typically do start with the Canada Homestay. If they are more mature, they usually don't do it for very long, and then they will find a roommate situation or they will find housing. Victoria, the housing and the rental market is quite good, and Brill Road is not centrally in downtown Victoria. We're on the West Shore, which is a very, very thriving hub for new communities. So we have a lot of new housing developments and a lot of rental housing. So the city of Langford is adjacent to us, and that is a hub for new rental housing. A lot of it's condominium style rentals. So a lot of students are finding that these new rentals have been perfect for them, but a lot of students will go in together in a house. So right now, with the current situation, not a lot of students are going to be newly coming to campus, but when they do again, there will be a lot of options because the construction is still going. I can see it. I live in this area, and it the capacity for rental housing is great. There's a real focus on that, and the affordability is quite good in this area.
Yeah, I guess this is one of the best advantages of Victoria, because as SSLC we have campuses in Toronto, Vancouver, and Victoria as well, and our students choose Victoria most of the time because it's more affordable. It's a smaller city, it's more student friendly, and as you mentioned, there are many other schools and public institutions in Victoria, including yours. And there are a few language schools like us and private colleges. So it's a great environment for them to stay, to live, to study, and to work.
It's a nice lifestyle. It definitely is. Yeah, Vancouver's lovely too, though. But
Well,
Victoria is a great place to come and study, and
right.
the affordability aspect is nice compared to Vancouver and Toronto. It is a more affordable option.
More affordable, and if they come to Victoria, they can easily come and visit Vancouver.
True.
That's another advantage right there.
Absolutely.
Are there any scholarship opportunities?
There are some awards. So we have a scholarship and awards page, and maybe what I'll do is I'll share that with you, Elias, and then you can include that as a link.
Sure.
And students are encouraged to apply for multiple options if they are eligible for those. So yeah, I'll send that along, and that can be included as a complimentary aspect of the presentation.
And what are your tuition, like if you can give a range? What does it start?
Yes, our master's level programs are typically in 32,000 would be a typical for the Master of Global Management. We have tuition increases every year, but that's sort of the ballpark for our master's program.
That's for the whole program, for 18 to 22 months, right?
That's correct. That's correct. Okay. And then for the undergraduate programs, the tuition is about $20,000 per year.
Per year. That's great. Okay. That's it for my questions. Thanks for joining us again. It was a great presentation. We learned a lot of things about RRU. And do you have anything to add?
I don't think so, except that it's a wonderful experience having this pathway with SSLC. Prior to being homebound for the last little while, I've had the opportunity to be in the SSLC Victoria and Vancouver campuses multiple times, and I always see students so enjoying themselves and very engaged. So it's been a great experience having this pathway in place, and we really look forward to when we can invite students back. But in the meantime, the online pathway is something that I certainly think from my experience, having spoken and dealt with SSLC and knowing our capacity right now at this time, the experience will not be diminished, and then we hope that as soon as possible that we can have students return to campus.
Great. And yeah, if students want to start in September to RRU, they can take our online EPE program starting this May 25th. It's a 12-week program, as I mentioned before, and they'll be able to catch the September intake and enroll in your program. So that's about it.
Yeah, sounds great, Elias. Thank you very much.
Thank you so